Hello everybody, welcome along once again to another edition of the Rugby White Ball, and goes without saying that we have another massive weekend of sport to look forward to, and who knows, we might even have another handshake that kept the country talking all week. Anyway, maybe we'll come back to that a little bit later on. I suppose, look, we have to say that it hasn't been the greatest of week for Cork GAA, particularly Cork hurling, with the under 20 team being beaten against Tipperary. Then you had the seniors last week against Clare, and the minors during the week against Clare also. And I suppose, look, the senior game against Clare was the most disappointing of them all, insofar as that, you know, we thought at the start of the season maybe that Clare would be the team, Clare and Tipperary would be the two teams that would end up at the bottom, but that's not the case now. As you well know, Cork have 2 games now remaining. They travel to Walsh Park on Sunday week, and after that they travel to Thurles to play Tip. So from a hurling point of view, it goes without saying like that it hasn't been an incredibly successful time. Anyway, this week is all about the Cork footballers and their game with Kerry in Porky Ring on Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. And of course, you're also well aware of the grief that surrounded this game, about the venue. Well, no, that's where it's going to be played at, and nothing is going to change that. The curtain raiser, by the way, for those who would like to come early, is at 3:30. You have the semi-final of the Munster ladies football between Tipperary and Kerry. And then at 6 o'clock the big game throws in. Look, I'm not too sure how you can start to preview this game. It's quite simple. Kerry are one of the best teams in the country, if not the best, and Cork certainly are not in their league in any shape or form, lucky to survive in Division 2. So anything other than a substantial Kerry victory would be a major surprise. I suppose, look, what Cork are looking for, and is one of these model victories, and even though I will be told that there's no such thing as getting any benefit out of model victories, but look, we've got to be realistic about it. Prior to the game itself, of course, the big talking point is how many are going to turn up there. Will Cork supporters all of a sudden decide to come out and support the Cork footballers? Will the Kerry people travel up for a Saturday evening game in Porkering, where, you know, they will perceive the place to have difficulties in terms of parking and all of that? All of that remains to be seen. Look, most of the people that follow Gaelic games will be well aware of how talented this Kerry team is, none more so in the forward division, where you have the Clifford brothers, David and Paddy. Then you have Adrian Spillane, Sean Shea, Dara Moynihan and Paul Gaining. There's a plethora of fellas to come in. They've got at least 3 or 4 guys that they can operate out around the middle of the park. Jack Barry and Deemer O'Connor will probably start there. And their defence seemingly has tightened up with the playing of Tyg Morley now at centre back, Brino Big Leak on the other side, and Jason Foley and Tom Sullivan are 2 outstanding people in the full back line. But do Cork have a chance? Look, it's a game of Gaelic football. It's one team against the other, and seemingly the odds are horrendously stacked in favour of Kerry. This Cork team obviously will come in under the radar. They will come in with a bit of bite, obviously. You know, they showed bottle, if you could use that term, in deciding they were going to stick to their guns and play in Porkering. And despite the fact that some people felt that may not have happened at the end of the day, you can rest full sure it would. They have a number of players back after injury now. Whether they start on Sunday or whether do you hold them, because Cork do have a second game on the June bank holiday weekend, where they'll be playing the first round of qualifiers. There'll be 8 teams there. You know, already you have got the likes of Armagh, Tyrone, Mayo, Clare, Louth. You have the losers of Monaghan and Derry, another formidable outfit, and the losers of Meath and Dublin. Well, you can take that in as being Meath, and that's going to more or less be the 8 qualifiers, unless one of the teams in Division 3 win their semi-final games, and that would involve Limerick. That would involve Tipperary beating Limerick, or or Cavan beating Monaghan at the weekend. I can't see that happening. But as I said, the Cork team, the players that are coming back, There's, Maurice Shanley from Clonakilty, Brian Hayes, he was out injured for a while. Sean Powter, maybe he could be played in the forward division. And then of late we've, told that Killian O'Hanlon, Damien Gore and Paul Walsh are also, making steady progress. I suppose a question for the selectors is, like, do they risk playing some of these guys now, or were they better off getting another bit of recovery time into them and wait until the qualifiers? I know some of what I'm saying doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Did it ever? So I'd imagine the full back line, Kevin O'Donnell and Ty Corkery will definitely be in there. The half back line, if John Cooper is fit, he really made a big impression in the latter stages of the league. Matty Taylor will be there, so will Rory Maguire. Well, midfield then, Colm O'Callaghan from Éire Óg had a very good league season. Whether Ian Maguire, I know that he had a fitness test last night, whether he passed that or not, I'm not too sure. That the forwards, I'd imagine John O'Rourke, Dan O'Dineen, the team captain Brian Hurley will be there, and so will Stephen Sherlock and maybe Sean Powter. But all in all, look, if we were to cut to the chase in this one, you can't see anything other than a big Kerry victory. And Jack O'Connor, I've made a point somewhere that Jack O'Connor is obviously a seasoned operator, and the situation with Tyrone last year where they were caught cold, and oh my God, there's no doubt in the world about that. I think Cork will be more of a formidable outfit in Páirc Uí Rinn than they would be down in Killarney. They'll be well psyched up for this one. So look, we've got to go with Kerry in this one. No other way of looking at it. The other games are on at the weekend, and there's so much activity now at the county level. On the Connacht semi-final, no, I don't know, will there be a huge amount of interest in that? That's Galway versus Leitrim. And sure, look, Galway are going to win that. Leitrim are going to be in the Tailteann Cup. I can't see anything other than a Galway victory in that one. Then the game up north at 4 o'clock on Sunday. All these games now on Sunday. You've Cavan versus Donegal, and I know Cavan won the Ulster Championship a couple of years ago, but that was I'd have to say a bit of a flash in the pan, to be honest. Since then they have been dropping down the leagues. So Donegal there, and then the game in hurling in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick. Limerick taking on Tipperary, and even though Limerick have well documented injury situations, Cian Lynch being one of them, Tipperary, as well as their form dropping, they also have injury situations. Have Jason Ford and John McGrath out injured, so that's going to be, you can't say anything other than a Limerick victory. The under-21 football semi-finals, Cork obviously not going to be involved here, but you have Kerry playing Tyrone on Saturday in one semi-final, and Saturday Sligo playing Kildare. And the interesting thing about Sligo, they won the Connacht Minor Championship last year, and now winning the under-20, is there a little bit of a movement in Sligo football? But we've seen that in the past of teams that come along, and these weaker counties, they might win one major championship at underage level, and that team then is expected to carry the county forward. It does to a degree, but you can see that the bigger counties, that they're constantly winning these titles. Cork Camogie teams, well, the under-16 team, the under-16 and the minor, they play Munster finals, even though the minor has already won the All-Ireland. The provincial competitions are slightly different. So on Friday evening at Kilmallock at 7:15, Cork play Clare, and then Cork play Tip, my apologies, and then on Sunday 2 o'clock in Clare, it's the minor final between Cork and Clare. One game in schools competitions, and I suppose that some people would have an argument here now that school competitions are maybe running on a bit late, but there's been a difficulty with COVID and all that. But a big match that's on from a West Cork perspective is the Simcox Cup final. It's the Cork College Scenery of Football, and I'm not too sure the two West Cork teams have ever competed in the final for that, but it goes on tomorrow Friday at 1 o'clock in Rosscarbery between Clonakilty Community College and Skibbereen Community School. Now, I'm not too sure whether the Cork minor players are allowed to play in this, because they play a big game against Kerry next Thursday night. That's tonight's week, isn't it? Yeah. I must check the calendar over there. And I know the Clonakilty have 3 players, whereas Skibbereen have only 1. But anyway, that will be a game of some interest, as I said, tomorrow down in beautiful Rosscarbery. Moving on to soccer, my God, what a night it was last night in terms of the Champions League, where Manchester City looked home and hosed and then conceded 2 goals in the 90th minute and the 91st minute, which brought that game to extra time, as you know, and then they lost out on in that extra time. So it means that the Liverpool success story continues. And what did we see on Tuesday night? Only that when they drew level in aggregate with Villarreal, they got 3 goals in 12 minutes, and they are now in the Champions League final that goes on May the 28th, themselves and Real Madrid, and the drive for 4 is very much in motion. Tonight you have West Ham. They go to Frankfurt, a goal behind in their Europa League game. I know we have a couple West Ham supporters in this neck of the woods, and whether we have Rangers supporters or not, I'm not too sure, but they host RB Leipzig at home, and even though that they are trailing by 1 goal, they'd be fancy to get through on that. But the Premier League and the Championship, they're coming to a conclusion, and there's a couple of battles going on. In the Premier League, you have the battle at the top between City and Liverpool. You have the battle for 14 between Arsenal, Spurs, joining Chelsea, and finally you have the battle for 6th place for the famous Europa League between United and West Ham. And down at the bottom, I would think that Norwich and Watford are relegated, and then it's 1 from 3. Everton, a lot of Evertonians in our midst, a lot of Leeds people in our midst. I'm not too sure whether we're Burnley supporters or not. So the games that are on of major interest this weekend, on Saturday, Chelsea taking on Wolves, Crystal Palace and Watford. I think that game doesn't really matter. Brighton and Manchester United. United did win a match on Monday night when they beat Brentford 3-0. And then on Saturday evening, probably after the Kerry Cork game, there'll be a big game between Liverpool and Spurs. The Sunday games, you've got Arsenal taking on Leeds, vital game for both of them at opposite ends of the table. Leicester and Everton, for obvious reasons we mentioned earlier. West Ham, whatever they do tonight, they will be hoping to get back in winning ways in the Premier League to get that 6th spot of Manchester United. And then Man City after that horrendous collapse again last night, and Pep Guardiola, who hasn't won the Champions League with Liverpool. And the ultimate insult, even though he may not realise it, is that on social media today he's going around with a Mayo jersey. A Mayo jersey on it. Anyway, the Championship, all matches played Saturday at 12:30, and the way it's operating here is that Bournemouth and Fulham are automatically promoted, and then there's going to be a playoff between the next 4 teams, and it's basically 4 out of 5, with Nottingham Forest and Huddersfield already qualified. So then Sheffield United, Luton Town and Middlesbrough, they're the 3 teams, and they'll produce 2. Those playoffs, and we've said it before, that the Championship is probably as interesting, if not more so, than the Premier League itself. The League of Ireland, where Cork City are really doing so well, and they're on top, albeit that Galway United have a game in hand. They take on bottom side. They travel to Athlone on Friday night to take on the bottom side Athlone, whereas Cove Ramblers welcome Galway United. And the way Cove Ramblers are playing, unfortunately, I can't see any outcome, only a Galway victory there. It's a massive weekend for the rugby. The 2 provinces in the Champions Cup semi-final at 3:30 in the Aviva. Munster, who have made a couple of announcements in the recent past, where Graham Rowntree is taking over as their coach, manager, Bonnister, call him what you will. And then they signed Mike Prendergast yesterday, former Liverpool player. Liverpool, and they hit today a former Munster player who was with Racing for the past couple of years, and I think that is a good signing. But they have a huge match when they take on Toulouse in the Aviva. Now both Munster and Toulouse have qualified. They have the highest number of quarter-final appearances. This is going to be their 19th, and Munster have won. They're the most successful team at winning quarter-finals. They've won 14 of the 19, whereas Toulouse have won 12. If Munster were to win this, I think that, well, obviously there's going to be big interest in the game that goes on a little bit later, and that's where where Leinster travelled to Leicester to Welfare Road. Now, I mean, Leinster, with all their riches of players, they've only won this competition once back in 2018. Obviously, from a Munster point of view, if Munster could win, I would prefer Leicester to win. Well, maybe we'd prefer Leicester to win anyway, but I think Munster would have a better chance against them. The only problem with Munster is that, not a problem, if they win, they have to travel away the following week as well for the semi-final. So, folks, that's it. Take care until we meet again, and as always, you're visiting this particular broadcast is greatly appreciated. So take care and mind yourself.